Hello, today we have Cindy, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I'm 70 years old, and I have been probably dealing with this for about 10 years, um, the cyclic vomiting, but it got increasingly worse, probably about 4 years ago, to the point where it was affecting my life. And so here I am.
and so you started dealing with it about 10 years ago, but about when were you diagnosed?
I was only diagnosed probably like maybe a year ago.
So it took you probably about 9 years to become diagnosed. Is that
Yes.
correct?
And
Okay.
and it was actually strange who actually diagnosed me. It was an ear, nose, and throat doctor. They had diagnosed me with Meniere's disease. And when I wasn't getting any better, one of the doctors in the office said, I think you have abdominal migraines. So I started doing research on my own and found out that cyclic vomiting is similar to that, but without the pain. And I didn't have any pain. So then I started seeking out other doctors that knew a little bit more about the cyclic vomiting.
That's interesting. And kudos to that doctor for looking into that, because so many don't.
Right,
um,
right.
can you describe a typical episode for me?
My really bad episodes, I lose all my color, and then I sweat profusely, and then I just, have terrible episodes of vomiting. And then I'm usually in bed for like 4 days. Yeah. In fact, when I was at the shop, I used to be a hairdresser. I started to have an episode and I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home. And there were two young kids in there that were EMTs. They actually went outside and waved down an ambulance on the
Oh,
street.
that's too funny.
It was funny. I was like, oh my God.
Oh
So,
man,
and
that's
it was the same guy in the ambulance that had to take me from my house when I was so sick and I was on the floor, and it was the same guy. So,
oh geez, that's too funny.
yeah,
So they got to know you.
yes, they did.
And does anything make your episodes better?
Actually, it does, and I haven't had really a bad episode in quite a few months, actually. Again, I think you have to be proactive in this. Medication does not work well with me, especially tricyclics, which I know amitriptyline is supposed to be one of the better ones. They did put me on doxepin, I think, also, which is a tricyclite, and again, I had the same reactions. So I just started doing the CoQ10, the B2, and the L-carnitine, and that has worked wonders for me.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
yeah, I'm so fortunate that
Mm-hmm.
I found something more natural to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also
Absolutely.
on Effexor, which I've been on for years, a very, the lowest dose, and I think that they say that that helps also.
Great. That's great. I'm glad you've been um that your episodes have been less severe. That's always good to hear. If there was one CVS symptom you could get rid of, what would it be?
Um, Probably like being in bed for 4 days. I just, that it takes my life away. That's how I feel. Even when I'm so sick, I just lay there and go, oh, I really should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's like the world's moved around you, but you feel like it should have stopped probably, right? When you're in bed for 4 days.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird, I'm sure it's a weird, surreal feeling. And so how has CVS impacted your life? Were you were you already looking at retirement when you started getting sick, or were you still trying to work full time?
No, I was working. I still was working full time. And I think, I think most of mine comes from stress. Those are triggers for me. And I think too, maybe my episodes are less because I did retire, and I don't have as, much stress.
Hmm.
So
And did you
I
retire because of your CVS, or were you ready to
I
retire
think
anyway?
I wanted to, but I think that was a catalyst,
Hmm.
to get me, because the episodes were just getting too frequent. And it's being a barber, hairdresser. You're doing someone's hair, and then all of a sudden you go, "Uh-oh," and you have to leave them in the chair, and then the other girls would have to take over for me, and then I would get stressed about that, and so I think it was a catalyst. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What would you like people who don't understand CVS to know about what it's like to live with CVS?
Um, it's hard, I think, for people to understand. Um, I don't know. I don't like to complain. I just deal with it, and that's pretty much how I run. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would really tell other people. I mean, most people have been so considerate, like the girls that were taking over for me, or getting me cold compresses.
Hmm.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
I've even gotten sick, like at school, because I substitute also at a hairdressing, at a state school. And I have to say that even if the kids give me a bad time during the day, when I've gotten really, really sick, they've come and had my back. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah. So most people have been very understanding. I haven't had a problem with
That's
that.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. That's very good. What do you have any advice for someone newly diagnosed with CVS?
The only advice I think I would give them is to be proactive. I think that's so important, because I was sent to a doctor who, they told me he was a specialist. And when I got up there, it was like an hour drive, and he goes, "I'm not a specialist." And I really liked him, but he knew nothing.
Mm,
And he said to me, "You're too old to have cyclic vomiting." That's what he said to me. And so then later on during the conversation, he says, he said, "I don't think you have cyclic vomiting." And then later on, he said, "You know what? I think you do have cyclic vomiting." And I said to him, "Then why did you say that earlier?" And he said, "Because you're too old to have it." And I said to him, the oldest case so far has been a 73-year-old lady, and I'm not up there yet. so
yeah.
so he looked it up, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're right." And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think you do have to be proactive. Just like I said before, I read up so much on any medication and natural stuff, and I think you just have to find your niche, and mine
Hmm.
happens to be the natural path.
Yeah. Well, and so many, it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to believe that if they read even one or two articles about CVS, they are more educated than most doctors they're going to see about CVS, because it is rare enough. A lot of doctors aren't learning about it in medical school. So unless they've already seen it somewhere, they don't know much. So, I mean, that's great that your doctor was willing to admit that he was wrong. Um,
Well, I
and
do go to another doctor now, and he knew about CVS right away. And I told him, and he's a medical doctor, and I
mhm,
told him that I have been using the CoQ10 and the other two. And he said, "Great." He said, "We use that in our office all the time." So for a medical doctor,
mhm.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's great to have that validated
Hmm.
also. Um,
I was initially diagnosed with, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are this too, sinus infections. That
Oh,
was,
interesting.
yes, that's what they thought it was, So for years, I just kept thinking, oh, I've got another sinus infection coming on. But then when as I say, it got to be just too much, then it was diagnosed as Meniere's disease. And then, as I say, abdominal migraines. So
So when they thought you were having sinus infections, were you having vomiting? They thought that the sinus infections were causing you to vomit?
he thought that the nasal drip would go into my stomach and make my stomach upset. So
Got
that's,
it. Got
yeah.
it. I mean, yeah, I guess that does happen, but
But these
that's
were
interesting.
severe.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. It is really interesting to me how many different things people have been misdiagnosed with. One of the big ones I hear is I don't even know the percentage, but a lot of adult patients have had their gallbladders removed unnecessarily before they had a diagnosis. So the sinus infection one is interesting, but I can see it. In your CVSA journey, did CVSA help you and how?
yes, because when I looked up, they're the ones that introduced me to the webinars, that I, have attended some of them. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Great. And if you had one word to describe CVS, what would it be?
uh, horrible. Or just debilitating. I guess the word debilitating is,
Debilitating. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a good one.
yep.
That's a good one. Anything else that you'd like to share about your CVS or how it's impacted you or anything like that?
Um, I don't like to cause people problems, and I don't like to like be the center of attention and stuff. So when I get these, and even if they're really severe, I mean, I've been laying on my bathroom floor before and just couldn't even get up. I was so sick. Um, and I fight going to the hospitals. But I think I need to tell people that when you do get a bad episode, you really do need to go, because every time I've gone, I've been dehydrated. And
Hmm.
so I think it's important, even though I mean, one time they couldn't even get a temperature out of me. I mean, it was really, really bad. My girlfriend actually thought I was going to die, she said. But so I think, yeah, make sure that if you are sick, that you do go to the proper, place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. I think a lot of people just have so many bad experiences, they just don't want to go, but I think that's a great piece of advice.
Well, it is tough because, you go and I mean they give you the fluids and everything, but like one time I was at the emergency room and they gave me Zofran and I still kept vomiting. So they gave me a second dose and I still kept vomiting. And the nurse said, well, we can't give you any more. So they talked about admitting me, and the next thing I know, they said, well, there's no more we can do, there's no more we can do for you. So they told me to go sit in the waiting room until somebody came to pick me up, with a pan. I was still vomiting,
Oh,
and they sent me
jeez.
home. So, and again, and then the one time I was admitted because I was so bad, the doctor came in the next day and said, I'm sorry, we can't find anything. So you're right. There's not a whole lot of doctors out there that, that know anything about it.
Hmm.
I also have trichotillomania. I don't know if you know what that is. It's hair pulling, and I've had it since I was 8. And most doctors don't know about that either. And
Hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So the time that you were still vomiting and they told you to have somebody pick you up, had they at least given you some like fluids for rehydration?
yes, they did. They had. And is it I'm trying to think of, yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so insane.
I know.
I I have to say, Cindy, you are a delight, and I am happy to see that you can laugh about it, and you have a really great energy to you. It's it's good to see that in someone with CVS.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.